I'm Edie Lush, and I'm here inside the Hub Culture Pavilion. It's Davos 2019. Really pleased to be joined by Keith Weed, Chief Marketing Communications Officer for Unilever. Thanks for stopping by.
Good to be here.
I'm sorry it's a little chilly in here.
It is very cold, yes, exactly.
So tell me.
The chattering of teeth will be heard.
Exactly. So you are wearing the Sustainable Development Goals pin, and I know that you have done a lot to bring profit alongside purpose in Unilever. There is still an enormous amount to be done, however, to bring a lot of other companies to the table if we are going to achieve the goals by 2030. Give me where you think the biggest challenges are.
I think the biggest challenge is really to integrate it across the business. I mean, we say at Unilever that companies with purpose last, brands with purpose grow, and people with purpose thrive. So we've been around for more than 100 years. So the first thing I think, we last, and purpose has been a big part of Unilever since the very beginning. And Lord Leverhulme, he even had a sort of a statement, a purpose statement back then. That's before you had McKinsey and others telling you need to do this. And he said that he wanted to make cleanliness commonplace. So he saw the dirt and squalor of Victorian England and wanted to bring soap to the masses. And we're still the biggest soap company in the world today. So he certainly succeeded in that. But building on that, I think the notion about brands with purpose grow. And I think that if you want to get now really sustainable brands, sustainable both in terms of social and environmental, but also sustainable as far as into the future, I think you need to build brands with purpose and really identify not just what people are interested in, but society and the world, because that's where you are part of everyday life, and you're not just a sort of an add-on. So whether it be Dove and the work we've done around real beauty and self-esteem, or right through to Vaseline, these are all brands that have purpose at their heart, and not just purpose in their advertising. We say in Unilever you have to have brand say and brand do. So brand say is positioning Dove in the beauty industry in a different way. But the brand do is, we are the largest educators on self-esteem in the world. We've already taught more than 30 million young girls about the beauty industry and how to think about themselves and their bodies a little bit differently than the classic beauty industry would lead them to believe. So I think this notion of acting with purpose as well as talking about purpose is really the journey we've still got to do at scale.
So I'm glad you mentioned Dove. It's one of the things that one of the products that actually changed my consumer behavior. Didn't have to do it with Ben & Jerry's. I was eating it right from the start. But I did look at those campaigns, and I did look at the kind of things you were doing both with body image and on climate. And I thought, this is a brand I'm going to support. Now, that is a tough job. That's a tough journey to take consumers on. Tell me how you think about that, especially in the realm of this idea that we're now dealing with millennials, the Gen Zs, who care much more about the environment than potentially before.
Yes, no, you're completely right. And maybe this is here we are in Davos talking about this. Maybe this is the moment. I mean, I think what business need are proof points that they're going in the right direction to act. And if there's one huge proof point, it's millennials and Gen Z and what's coming as far as their engagement in the world. And frankly, seeing the mess that our generation have done to the world, and them coming through saying, actually, we're going to do something different, and quite right. So if that encourages companies to act, then that's a good reason. But we are finding that you're right that particularly millennials, who are a huge sort of wave coming into the workforce, coming into all sorts of markets, are more interested in provenance and you really got to be real. So this idea of sort of badging a brand by sort of, I'm going to support, Save the Children or UNICEF, which, by the way, it's great that brands do that. It's got to be much more than that. I think you've got to find some way where you can actually integrate it into the core of the brand. I think if it's just an add-on, I think people see through that. And again, great to do a bit of CSR, corporate social responsibility. But I think actually CSR is part of the problem, actually, because people feel they're doing enough if they just do a little bit for a good cause. And in fact, one of the first things I did, I've been in my current role for 9 years, and although I'm the Chief Marketing Officer, I also run sustainability, social and environmental sustainability, and communications for Unilever. One of the first things I did was I closed down the CSR department. So goodbye, we're not doing that. Because what we want to do is we want to mainstream sustainability. So we don't want sort of marketing in one corner selling more stuff, communications in another corner trying to find a nice picture of a good project in Africa to put in there, or report or whatever, and sustainability over here trying to save the planet. So no, we're all going to work on this agenda, and it's going to be about how do we create a different business model that has sustainability at its core, social and environmental sustainability at its core. And so whether you're in a brand or whether you're working in the factory or whatever, where do your actions ladder up to a better world?
So give me an example of how you did that with one of those projects, how you changed it so that sustainability was across the core.
Yeah, so it's a good example. Let's choose a brand that you haven't mentioned, but I just did briefly then Vaseline. So Vaseline petroleum jelly. A marvelous product. If you have a cut, a sore, or whatever, virtually nothing can be better than putting on a bit of petroleum. And then, of course, Vaseline Intensive Care Lotion and the whole skincare range. So there's a brand that is into sort of intensive care as far as sort of skin and healing, etc. So again, trying to find something at its core. And so we are now working in refugee camps. So if you're in a refugee camp, the last thing you want to do is get ill. And one of the things you really need to keep healthy, to stay healthy, is your skin. If you get a break in your skin, disease gets in, and very quickly you deteriorate. So we're working with NGOs, with dermatologists, providing therapy in refugee camps to keep your skin healthy. Now we take that as a real sort of torture test of performance, and if we can do well there, then your everyday life here in Davos, you're going to be fine. And then using that, we've built out the brand proposition. We also, of course, then are doing really good work in these refugee camps, and we're supporting people's skin health, which of course is bang on trend for Vaseline. But then we've got to stand back and then say, well, what else are we doing? So we talk about the social side, but what about the environmental side? So single-use plastic. What are we doing about recycling, etc.? And we build it across the brands. And we have this thing called the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan, which we launched 9 years ago now. And the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan looks across all our brands, all our companies' operations. And it's not just looking at the sort of the small part, which is of our operations, as in our factories, our distribution, our offices. We say no, our responsibilities are for the whole value chain. So from agriculture right the way through to consumer use and disposal. So the water that goes in a tomato in the field, we say that's part of our water footprint. The greenhouse gases used when your washing machine heats up the water to wash your clothes, we say that those are our greenhouse gases. And so we look at the whole value chain and then say that we are going to reduce our impact. So we want a reduced environmental footprint and an increased positive social impact. And if you set out that objective big enough, I think you can pull the whole company. So we're a soup and soap company, but over 90% of the people who work for our company say they're proud to work for you. And we've got sort of over 150,000 people around the world in all sorts of places. But to get that sort of consistent support for what we're doing, I think comes back to the that thought about sort of purpose at your core and driving accordingly.
So 90% believe that Unilever's doing the right job, and those are from your employees.
So our employees, say that they're proud to work for Unilever.
They're proud to work for Unilever. So that's really important, because we know from the trust barometer out today, the Edelman Trust Barometer, that trust across a range of issues and across globally is still falling. But tell me about what you noticed from that trust barometer. Trust in employers seems to be increasing. How did you take that?
Yes, well, I've just come from the Trust Barometer, which I think is always a great kick-off to Davos. A great kick because it reminds us at the end of the day that actually, without trust, you have nothing. As I said before, a brand without trust is just a product, and we are into building brands. So trust is hugely important. But it was interesting when you look across all the different sources, the trust in the employer has gone up quite considerably, and is now up at 75%. So I think this is a huge responsibility for companies. So people are trying to work out who do I trust, etc. But actually, the person I go to work with every day, maybe I should be listening to them more. So I think then it comes down to this agenda, as you're saying, about purpose for companies. Companies have to think not just, of course, of the people they're serving, their customers, the consumers, but the people who work for them. And you won't be surprised, retention rates go up if people believe in you. You can attract the best people. Every year, 2 million people apply for jobs at Unilever. We only have 150,000 jobs, and we certainly aren't replacing them every year.
Right.
And I think that sort of 2 million people applying for jobs is a lot behind the sort of company we're striving to be. So I think this is not just a moral case, it's an economic case, and certainly with millennials right now, an economic case to think differently about how you position your company and your brands, not just to engage the millennials and consumers, but also to attract the right sort of employees as well. And then the real thing's beholden now is if that many people are trusting you, you better be walking the right walk.
Right, exactly. Well, tell me, how many years have you been in Davos now?
9, I think.
Okay, so what is the... This is my 10th year here at Davos.
It might be mine, yes. I'm not counting.
So tell me, what's the strangest thing you've seen in Davos?
Oh Lord, strange. Well, I think standing in a glass fish tank built on top of a cafe with snow behind us, which I'm sure is great on camera. But let me tell you, down below is pretty. That's pretty strange.
Yeah.
Yes, we were just saying it earlier, isn't it? You can't go out in Davos, so everything's going up. So yesterday I went to the girls' lounge just down the road here, and they've gone up a floor as well.
Right.
So everyone seems to be going up. There was a strange thing I've seen. I think in a positive way, that I think there's much more acceptance of this sort of multi-stakeholder approach to things. That no matter how great a company like Unilever or any other company becomes, it's a drop in the ocean. So I think we have to look at whole system change. And when you talk about whole system change, whether you're looking at deforestation on one side or solving the challenges around plastic, it can't be one company. It has to be multiple companies. And it can't just be companies. It has to be governments. And it can't be just companies. It has to be NGOs. And I think this idea of bringing things together. So what's really strange is then you go to an event and the cross-section of people you see
diversity of thought, diversity of...
which is fantastic. And that's, of course, what Davos delivers. I was talking literally last night about some of the great technological solutions to some of our challenges with will.i.am. And, of course, known primarily, of course, as a celebrity and performance singer, but he's fantastic when it comes to technology.
Technology, absolutely.
Really bright guy, and he's always very challenging in his thinking. Where would you get a chance to chat about those sort of things? But in Davos.
So that's interesting. I'm glad you mentioned that, because the motto of the World Economic Forum, improving the state of the world. Can you tell me something that's happened because of being here, that's impacted Unilever, impacted you personally? Is there an initiative that would not have happened had it not been for Davos?
Well, I think the scaling of, yes. So, I suppose 3 years ago, when we made a commitment about our packaging, that our packaging would be recyclable, compostable, or reusable by 2025. Which, in the terms of a company in 190 countries, 2025 is tomorrow. A huge challenge. We produce a lot of packaging. And we made that commitment because we believe that we need to get ahead of some of the challenges. But again, we can't do it alone. And then through here and conversations, and Ellen MacArthur, who has a foundation on the circular economy, we now have 250 companies on the same commitment. Now, that creates momentum and scale. And surprise, surprise, some of the things that seemed impossible 3 years ago, when we started the challenge, is getting more possible by the day. And I think those sort of things are enabled by having the right people focusing for a short period of time. We're here for a week, short period of time on these big challenges.
All right, so I know you're leaving Unilever soon. However, I wonder if you could just reflect a moment and tell me, if only my company could. My company would be better if. What thoughts spring to mind?
Well, yes, I'm leaving end of April. I'm going to go and do lots of different things. It's going to be really fun. I was just saying before, starting with a 6 weeks drive in a 1940 Pontiac across China and Mongolia, etc. So it's all going to be fun. But well, I actually think one of the biggest challenges we need to solve right now as a consumer goods company, which we are, every day 2.5 billion people use our products. We are mass markets, from Hellmann's mayonnaise through to washing powder, etc. I think if we could solve the challenges around packaging, every day it strikes me, and in different countries there are different amounts of packaging and different potential solutions. But I think consumer goods businesses need to crack the challenge around packaging. We've already got a few billion people in the world, another couple of billion arriving, and if we don't solve this, I think we're going to have some challenges in the future. The good news is if we act now, it's still a manageable problem. We're here talking about other big challenges like climate change, where we really, really need to get moving. The one on packaging is an issue, and it needs to be addressed. But it's not gone beyond the point, so that's why really attacking the issue now is going to be the thing that on our agenda, I know, and hopefully on many others.
Keith, thank you very much for stopping by the Hub Culture Pavilion. We'll give you a warm coffee as you exit, because I'm afraid the studio's been a little bit chilly. But I'm Edie Lush.